Today on Hot Thai Kitchen, we are making ข้าวมันไก่ สวัสดีค่ะ Welcome to Hot Thai Kitchen. Today we're making one of the most popular street foods in Thailand, and that is ข้าวมันไก่ known in English as Hainanese chicken rice, and that's because the island of Hainan is where this dish was originated from. And I'm particularly fond of this dish because my grandmother was actually born and raised in Hainan, so she pretty much makes this dish every time I see her. So now I'm gonna share it with you. So first, your Thai lesson. What does ข้าวมันไก่ mean? ข้าวมัน means fatty rice, and it refers to the fact that we're going to cook our rice in chicken fat. And ไก่ means chicken. So let's take a look at our ingredients. So here's our chicken. Now I like to get my chicken at an Asian butcher because then I get the feet and the head and everything, so I have more stock material, so our cooking water will be more flavorful. Now this particular chicken is what they call Qingping chicken, which means that they're free range, they were active, so the meat is quite flavorful, but they're also smaller. This guy is about 2.5 pounds, which is actually perfect. So I'm gonna first cut off his head and his feet. So we're going to take that, but I'm going to save the skin because the skin around the neck has a lot of fat, which I want to then render for our rice. So in goes the head. Cut off his feet. And I'm going to crack the bones a little bit just to help the bones release the flavor a little quicker. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is collect chicken fat. We want as much as possible for our rice. Usually there's a bunch around the skin, around the neck flap, right here. So there. See that? That usually comes from the neck, so you want to save that. In the cavity by the bum, there's a bunch you can collect. One last check to see if I left anything. I'll deal with that later. I know it doesn't look very good right now, but in here we're also going to add all of our stock aromatics, and that's all our cilantro roots, ginger, garlic, and white peppercorns that I've crushed, and also our onions. And we're basically going to get this to a quick boil to sort of render the stock so that then we can cook our chicken in something flavorful. So at this point, you can cook your chicken just like this, or you can brine the chicken if you've got the time and you want to make it extra juicy. If you're going to brine it though, I'm going to make a very dilute brine solution. So what I do is 1 gallon of water to about 2 tablespoons of salt, which is not very salty at all because you don't want the chicken meat to be too well seasoned. We're going to make a really delicious dipping sauce. It's quite salty, so if the chicken meat is already well seasoned, then the whole thing is just overkill. So about 2 hours for a small chicken like this, the American standard size chicken, 3 to 4 hours is good in cold brine. So we're gonna wait for that stock to come to a simmer and let it go for about 20 minutes or so, and then we're gonna go cook our chicken. I almost forgot. You want to remove the wishbone from the chicken first. And the wishbone is basically the collarbone of the chicken. You don't absolutely have to take it out, but if you don't, it'll get in the way of when you go to carve out the chicken breast. And basically, you want to sit the chicken up so that it's, well, it would be facing me, but I'm going to face you so that you can see it. Then you can feel the bones right here and scrape it until the bone is exposed. See that? So once the bones are sort of exposed, and then you're just gonna take your fingers and pull it off, and it broke. So I've got 2 pieces now. Just kind of loosen the meat that's sort of holding on to the bones around this part. Come on. There we go. So that goes also into the stock pot. And now we can move on. So our stock has been simmering for about 20 minutes or so just to get basically to render a base stock, so our chicken has a flavorful liquid to cook in. And I'm going to season this stock now, this cooking liquid, about 1 tablespoon to 1.5 tablespoons. Again, you don't want this to be too salty because this is the stock we're going to use to cook our rice in as well. And I'm going to add some cold water to bring the temperature down so he's not shocked when he goes into the hot water. Oh, at this point, you can also taste the water. It's good. I'm going to add a little more salt, and that should do it. Now, you want to start the cooking water not hot because if you start them in hot water, the outside will cook a lot faster than the inside. So if you start it cold and bring the temperature up together, the chicken will cook more evenly throughout. And then I'm going to top him off a little so he's nicely submerged. So we're going to bring the water temperature up to 165 to 170 degrees and keep it there. So a thermometer like this, I think this is a latte thermometer I found. No idea where I got that from. Just to help you gauge the water temperature. If you don't have a thermometer, you want to look for the water to be completely still. So there should be no bubbling, no nothing. But there's steam coming off the top all the time. That's what 165, 170 degree water looks like. So without a thermometer, you could still do this. In Thailand, that's what they do. Is they call it boil the chicken in still water. So that's what that means. The temperature we need the chicken eventually to be at is 165 degrees. So if we keep the water there, we make sure the chicken does not overcook, does not dry out any more than it absolutely has to. We're gonna come and flip this chicken halfway through. So for this guy, he's gonna take about 30 minutes because he's a small chicken. And the time starts after the water has reached that temperature. So don't start timing until you're at 165. And then if you're doing a bigger chicken, you probably need 45, maybe 50 minutes. Just depends on a lot of factors. So we're gonna come back when he's done. We're going to get our rice started by, remember our lovely chicken fat that we collected? Well, here it is, and we're going to render fat. You want to turn the heat down low because you don't want the skin and everything to start burning and sticking to the bottom. And you want to keep stirring because otherwise the skin will stick to the bottom. If you don't have enough chicken fat, your chicken's very lean, or you just don't feel good eating a lot of chicken fat, you can use either all vegetable oil or a combination of both. A lot of times if I get a chicken that doesn't have a lot of fat, I just add a little vegetable oil in there just to get it to where I need. So our chicken fat is starting to collect now, as you can see. If you've got a particularly abundant fatty chicken, you can stop whenever you've got about, I'd say if you have about 2 to 3 tablespoons of fat, that should be enough for 2 cups of rice, which I'm gonna make. You can also fry these all the way to crispy and snack on it if you want. And to this, I'm gonna add chopped garlic. And just until the garlic is nice and golden. Garlicky chicken fat. The smallest bits are starting to turn golden brown. I'm gonna add my rice, which I have rinsed twice and drained very, very well. Lost some. And then I'm just going to coat the rice in this garlicky, fatty goodness. Now, normally you'd wait for your chicken to be done before you start doing this because you need the chicken cooking water to cook the rice, but I've got chicken cooking water from my previous batch. And then I'm gonna go in with my stock. 2 2/3 cup of stock, so that's 1 1/3 parts stock to 1 part rice. You may need more or less depending on your particular rice or how soft or firm you like your rice to be. I've done it up to 3 cups of water to 2 cups of rice, and that yields very soft, nice soft rice. But you can always add, you see, you can't take away. So if you're not sure, start with less and you can always add more. We're going to stir it until the rice is thick. Now you're wondering why, well, why can't I just throw all this in a rice cooker? And you could, and people do, but you see all this fat that is floated to the top? If I let this rice cook right now, like I normally do with the rice cooker, all the fat will end up coating all the rice on the top. And then it won't be evenly distributed. So I like to stir it until the rice is thick enough that the fat can be held down by the thickness of the rice. You see what I mean when we get there. there's my chicken timer. Stop. That means I have to flip my chicken, but I'll deal with that in a second because our rice is at its critical moment. Okay, see how now it's kind of thick, pudding-ish? That's what we want. That's what we're looking for. We're going to keep stirring until there. See how now the fat is staying down because the rice is thick enough to hold it down. So give it a good stir, distribute that fat, and now turn it down to very, very low. Close it up, and now, scrape that off. And now you're just gonna let it cook like you would regular rice. So let it go for about 10 to 15 minutes until all the liquid has been absorbed and the rice looks done on the top. And then turn it off, and we're gonna let it sit and sort of steam in its own heat for another 10 minutes or so before we serve. And now the most important part, the dipping sauce. You can actually find khao man gai in a few different Asian countries, but each country seems to have their own unique dipping sauce. So of course I'm going to show you the ones that are common in Thailand, but I'll actually show you two. The first one is the one that you commonly find at most khao man gai places. So here are your ingredients. And now you can do this either in a blender or in a mortar and pestle. Ginger and garlic first. Sorry, ginger and what are those red things called? Chilies, that's right. Get it to about that consistency, just so there are no more big chunks. It doesn't have to be a complete mush. And then you're gonna go in with fermented soybean paste, which I used before in my ratna video, and it comes in a bottle like this. Okay, and it usually is kind of chunky, still has whole soybeans in it. So we're gonna just crush it, but now that you've got liquid in there, you don't want to pound it or you'll get it in your face. I'm going to add some sugar at this point to help it grind. Now every restaurant will have their own version of this dipping sauce, but the must-have ingredients for any place is the tau jiao and the next thing I'm going to add, which is seew dam or black soy sauce. Okay, seew dam and tau jiao are the two main ingredients you must have, and then, you know, everything else is sort of their own thing. So seew dam black soy sauce comes in a bottle like this. It's not very salty, it's mostly sweet. If you need help finding it, let me know. Regular soy sauce. Finally, a little bit of vinegar. I'm just using a teaspoon. If you want it a little tartar, you can add more. Give it a taste. Perfect. Mainly salty. Now, some people do garlic instead of ginger. Quite prominently sweet, but the salty is still the leading flavor. Recipe number 2, it's the one that my grandmother always makes, and it's what she tells me, it's the traditional Hainanese dipping sauce. It's a little brighter and lighter and more citrusy, so here's what you need. And this dipping sauce, you just pound everything together. Ooh. Really bright and garlicky and gingery and spicy. So good. That'll be good on anything. So our chicken should be done. It's been 30 minutes. So we're going to check temperature at around this part here. And by the way, don't allow for residual cooking for this guy because we're cooking the chicken at such a low temperature. As soon as you take the chicken out, the temperature will drop right away. So hey, we're at 165. That's good. Benefit of using a small chicken is you can take him out pretty easily. And now we're gonna let this sit until it's cooled down to basically room temperature. This thing is served at room temperature. Normally at this point you then take the stock and cook your rice with it. So, and then while the rice cooks, the chicken could cool down. It all works out really well. This stock also you want to serve as a soup on the side. So you want to taste the stock at this point. It should be mildly salted. It shouldn't be salty because it's going to serve as a palate cleanser between these salty, fatty bites. So some people like to add some winter melon or other vegetables to it. I like it to keep it just sort of plain. So there, let's let this cool down and then we're going to butcher him. Next, just carve the chicken like you normally would. If you want to see how I do it, you can click the link in the description or in the end. Okay, so now is where the cleaver comes in handy because then you're able to cut the chicken quickly and you won't mess up the skin. There's none of this sawing stuff. And it's also fun. So you just go, and in Thailand they like to pat it down so it's flat and makes it look like there's more chicken than there really is, but you don't need to do that. So take that, put it on your rice. By the way, your rice, if by the end it's cooking and the top part's still a little bit hard, you can drizzle a little more stock and keep it cooking a little bit more. Don't need to stir it up or anything. Okay, so let's... And now you can serve the sauce on the side, or you can drizzle it on, like I like to do. Ooh. And I like to double sauce it, because this is sweet and salty. And the other one is sour and gingery. So it kind of goes together really well. Most places will not, by the way, have two different sauces for you. Let's taste it. That is really good. That's better than some of the street food common guy I've had. The chicken is super tender because we cook it at such a low temperature that it really didn't have any opportunity to dry out, so it's perfect. I didn't even brine this one, so you can imagine how tender brined chicken will be. And the sauce, the combination of the two, perfect combination of spicy, sweet, sour, salty. It's all very good. So if you want to try, you can visit my website for the recipe, hotthaikitchen.com. If you enjoy the show, please click to subscribe, and I will see you next time for your next delicious Thai meal.